Peter is one of the few humans in outer space who travels to different planets in order to find something valuable. He devotes much of his time to listening to music, and it is one of the most essential parts of his life. Despite having a lot of fun in outer space and traveling to different exotic planets, Peter never intended for all of this to happen to him. Back on Earth in 1988, when Peter was just a child, he was going through a tough period of having watched his mother suffer from a rare terminal disease. On her last day, Peter's mother gave him a present and told him to only open it when the time was right. Things became more unbearable for Peter when his mother passed away. A distraught Peter ran out of the hospital, only for him to be abducted by an alien spaceship in a matter of few minutes. Now 26 years later, Peter has arrived on an abandoned planet named Morak. Peter dances his way inside a ruined place, where he finds a mysterious orb. Soon, armed forces arrive, and they are able to get a hold of Peter. The armed forces work for the renegade, Ronan. Apparently, everyone is after this mysterious orb, which is why Ronan sent his men to get it. Knowing it could be valuable, Peter dodges Ronan's men and leaves the planet unharmed. Peter also goes by the name of Star-Lord, but he isn't that well known either. All those years ago, Peter was abducted by a group of thieves called the Ravagers. The group is led by Yondu, who is having a hard time because Peter is consistently avoiding him. Yondu tells Peter that he better come back to him with the orb, or it won't be ending well for Peter. Just like he always does, Peter avoids Yondu again and is hoping to sell the orb for a nice price. Ronan doesn't only want the orb, he wants something even more. Ronan is hoping to rule Xandar, which is the capital of the Nova Empire. Ronan is a vengeful and sadistic alien who wants to punish the people of Xandar for the dreadful history between his family and the government of that place. Ronan would only be successful if he is able to secure the orb and hand it to Thanos, who is an even more powerful alien warlord. Ronan assigns Thanos' adopted daughters, Gamora and Nebula, to retrieve the orb from Peter, who is now in Xandar, hoping to make a trade. Peter isn't aware that many entities are after the orb. Those also include a duo of a genetically modified raccoon named Rocket and a tree-like humanoid named Groot, who answers to everything by saying, "I am Groot." Peter's luck runs out soon when he is unable to sell the orb, as the buyer doesn't want anything that Ronan is after. The buyer tells Peter that all of the Xandarians are terrified of Ronan, which is why the buyer is terrified to make a transaction, as Ronan would come after him and the orb. Sometime later, Peter meets Gamora, who tries to lure him into giving her the orb, but when Peter fails to do so, a huge brawl breaks out between them. Soon, Rocket and Groot also join the fight and try to steal the orb for themselves. The entire situation is taken into control when the Xandarian armed forces arrive and arrest all four of them. All of them are sent to prison, and Peter also learns that Yondu has set a bounty for his capture. All of them don't get along nicely, as everyone wants the orb for themselves. Gamora lets them know that she wasn't getting the orb for Ronan. Instead, she was hoping to get it for herself and sell it to someone else. While they are in prison, one specific inmate has his eyes set on Gamora. The name of that prisoner is Drax, whose wife and daughter were murdered by Ronan. As Gamora is associated with Ronan, Drax wants to avenge his family by putting an end to Gamora. Later that night, a few inmates are about to terminate Gamora, but Drax wants to do that all by himself. Luckily for Gamora, Peter talks Drax out of ending Gamora, telling him that Drax can get revenge by going up against Ronan, and only Gamora can guide them towards Ronan. Even though he doesn't fully believe Peter, Drax still listens to him, but he remains alert to Gamora's action. Peter decides that Rocket can guide them out of prison, and Gamora says that she knows a buyer that would be paying an insane amount of money for the orb. Ronan learns about Gamora's real plans regarding the orb. Thanos calls Ronan so that he can explain why Gamora went rogue. Ronan puts the entire blame on Gamora, as he says that she was only thinking about herself. Thanos, whose presence is more than spine-chilling, makes it clear to Ronan that Gamora is his favorite child, and it's completely Ronan's fault that he still hasn't gotten the orb. He demands Ronan bring the orb soon, otherwise he won't be sparing Ronan at all. Rocket instructs all of the group members about what he needs that would allow them to make it out of prison. Drax and Groot don't wait for long, and they start grabbing all of the essentials in front of everyone. This also alerts the officials in the Watchtower, and a huge fight breaks out between the officials and every prisoner. Rocket, Groot, and Drax fight off the inmates relentlessly, while Gamora and Peter grab the remaining essentials required by Rocket. All five of them are able to get inside the Watchtower, and Rocket uses his technical skill to disable artificial gravity, which doesn't allow anyone in the prison to move even for a second. Before the entire team can leave for good, Peter remembers that his Walkman is still back in the prison. He goes to get it, and returns in his usual style. The entire team soon leaves, for the place where Gamora's potential buyer is waiting. Ronan and Nebula are still in search of Gamora and the rest of the entire team. Meanwhile, Yondu tries to find out who might be the possible buyer of the orb, so that he can reach him before Peter can, and he could confront Peter there. Gamora explains to Peter and the rest that there's a man named Tivan, who is willing to buy the orb. He resides in a haunting place called Nowhere. Before the entire group can meet Tivan, all five of them explore the place. Peter tries to bond with Gamora as he finds her to be quite attractive. Gamora lets him know that Thanos isn't her real father. He took her parents when he invaded her home planet. She is trying to take the orb away from him so that he won't cause any more havoc, although no one is aware of what the orb contains. Peter introduces Gamora to music, who feels good after listening to it. The group meets Tivan, and all of them are astounded to hear what is inside the orb. Tivan explains that before the entire universe was created, there used to be 6 singularities. When the universe came into existence, the remnants of those singularities were forged into concentrated ingots called the Infinity Stones. The orb contains one of those stones, and it's called the Power Stone. Tivan scares the group by saying that stone can wipe out an entire civilization within a matter of seconds, and it can only be wielded by beings of extraordinary strength. Before Tivan can pay the entire group, Tivan's slave becomes attracted to the Power Stone and tries to wield it. A huge explosion occurs, which leaves the entire place of Tivan in ruin. All of them feel that they should get rid of the orb, as it is extremely dangerous. Gamora tells Peter that they should give the stone to the government of Xandar, or Ronan might get it and use it to destroy the entire universe. Before they can take any action, Ronan arrives with his forces, and so does Yondu. The entire team flees in their separate spaceships. Nebula chases Gamora, as she always had a grudge against her. Drax tries to fight Ronan, but fails, as Ronan puts him down like he is nothing. Nebula destroys Gamora's ship, and Gamora begins to suffocate in outer space. Ronan escapes with the orb successfully. Not wanting to see Gamora lose her life, Peter decides to abandon his ship and rescue Gamora. Peter acquires the help of Yondu, who reluctantly brings him and Gamora onto his ship. Peter is beginning to have feelings for Gamora, but she doesn't feel that way for him. Ronan, who initially planned to give the orb to Thanos, decides that he is better off without him. Ronan believes he should not hand the stone to Thanos, when he could use it to destroy Xandar himself. Ronan cuts off Thanos completely and wields the stone, and much to everyone's surprise, he successfully does. Nebula is in awe of Ronan, and she promises to help him in conquering the universe. Yondu and his men beat up Peter for betraying Yondu multiple times. Yondu has had enough, and decides he should end Peter for good this time. Before he can, Peter tells Yondu all about the stone, and how priceless it is. He tells Yondu that Gamora knows all about Ronan, and she would help Yondu in getting him the stone from Ronan. Yondu lets Peter go, and decides to give him a chance one last time. Soon, Rocket, Groot, and Drax arrive to save Peter and Gamora. Before they can blow up Yondu's ship, Peter informs them that he and Gamora are safe. Rocket argues that they are trying to fight a battle they are determined to lose. Peter says that they have to try and stop Ronan, otherwise he will wreak havoc everywhere. Peter tries to hype the entire group by saying that all 5 of them have something in common, which is that all of them have lost their families and homes. Peter says that they should come together and stop Ronan from doing this to more countless souls. Gamora is hyped up, and she acknowledges everyone as her friends. The remaining do the same. Now that they are on the same page, the entire group, and Yondu's men, come up with a plan on how they could put an end to Ronan's terror. Peter gets in contact with one of Xandar's officials and pleads with him to convince the authorities to fight alongside Peter's team to beat Ronan. The time has finally arrived for battle. Peter and the rest of the crew have reached Ronan, who is just about to enter Xandar in his enormous spaceship. The army of Xandar has accepted to fight alongside Peter, and all of them engage in a long battle in order to stop Ronan from entering Xandar. However, Ronan's ship is too powerful to be put down that easily. Yondu's men are taken out with ease, and Yondu himself is left stranded on the ground. Although he is able to defeat several of Ronan's men easily with his arrow, which moves according to Yondu's whistle sounds, Peter and the rest of his group enter Ronan's ship, but their momentum is halted when Nebula comes their way. Gamora decides to take care of Nebula, and the remaining 4 make their way toward Ronan. The ship has fended off most of Xandar's army and has entered the planet. Ronan has embedded the stone in his warhammer, and he uses it to fight off the entire team. Before Gamora can strike the final blow, she persuades Nebula to join her and defeat Ronan. Nebula refuses and escapes Xandar by stealing another fighter's ship. Rocket's ship comes crashing into Ronan's ship, causing the entire ship to begin falling toward the ground. Knowing there's no way out, Groot decides to grow some roots in the form of a shield that will protect the entire team during the collision. Rocket gets upset, as it means that Groot will for the others, but Groot has no problem, as he now loves his new family. When they do hit the ground, everyone makes it out safely, other than Groot. Ronan mocks the entire group by calling them the Guardians of the Galaxy, and makes it clear that the group doesn't stand a chance. Before he could strike Xandar with his warhammer and destroy the entire planet, Peter distracts Ronan by singing and dancing. This allows the rest of the team to destroy the warhammer. Peter gets a hold of the stone, but it is way too powerful for him to wield. The rest of the team joins hands with Peter, and all of them put together are able to brandish the stone. They use it to strike Ronan and put an end to him for good. Now that they have defeated Ronan, Yondu arrives to take the orb for himself, just like Peter promised. Peter hands him the orb, but tells Gamora that he gave Yondu an orb that doesn't contain the stone. Yondu tells his men that he is glad that they didn't deliver Peter to his real father when they abducted him, indicating that Peter is only half human and his father is somewhere in the galaxy. Peter hands the real orb to Xandar's government. The authorities of Xandar are proud of the entire team, and they let them off by expunging their criminal records. Peter finally opens up the present his mother gave him, in which he finds a letter that informs Peter that his mother will always be with him. He finds a cassette that includes some of Peter's favorite songs. Rocket has now planted Groot in a plant pot that is growing slowly. The Guardians of the Galaxy fly off in their ship as a family to find something more to accomplish.